Hello and welcome to Who Gives a Vote, where we talk about life and politics.
There'd be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned.
The people on this podcast do not represent any organisation they may be associated with. Their views are exactly that.
Please explain.
Can I ask you a favour? Jump onto our Facebook page and YouTube channel and subscribe. Your support means the world. Now let's go.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Well, welcome to this episode of Who Gives a Vote. Sotera, you're not Robert Travascus, you're not Robert Garland.
No.
So Robert has dropped out and you've dropped in for today's episode.
That's right. I can't promise any humour on the same level as Robert, but I'll give it a red hot crack.
Well, straight up, we had a dad joke for Robert. So Robert, if you're listening, which he won't be, send us your dad's joke. But have you got one?
No, and I can't even do a bird noise. So I was
okay. No worries.
Underqualified.
And
pretty much.
Carly,
Hi.
how are you going? You want to move your mic just a little bit closer for me? There you go.
Hi.
So you're back.
I'm back.
I was taking it personal. You were like, you and I were the only ones.
Let's be fair. You went away for 3 weeks.
Yeah, but there was no episodes on there.
I know.
That's true. Yeah, I suppose that does count for something. So
Yeah.
did you have a break? You go down the Gold Coast?
Yeah, just for the weekend with the kids, for the school holidays. Caught up with our family. It was nice.
Fantastic. George?
Yeah, I'm a regular. This is my show now.
Yeah.
You're one of my guests.
That's right.
George Seymour Show.
I'd like to think we're
You're the Harvey Bay Carl Stefanovic. You got your own show now, George.
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't pick you as right wing, but yeah. Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about a couple of things. There's a bill that's been presented. It's a private members bill. George, do you want to explain what a private members bill, or do you?
Well, it's not coming from the government.
Yeah. So it's an independent. The Katter Party has placed a bill. It was placed on a similar bill was presented in 2024 and it lapsed. It's now gone. It's been read as a bill and it's coming back in I think this month for review. And so I thought it'd be a good time to talk about it. It was a quite an interesting bill. It's called the Castle Law Bill. And it comes from the concept, the old English law case in the 1600s was basically that your home is your castle and you have a right to defend it. And this goes into that. So it's actually an issue around the criminal code. It's an amendment to one section of the criminal code. It was introduced on the 4th of March 2026 by Robbie Katter from the Katter Party, Katter Australia Party. And interestingly enough, it received 113,380 signatures, the largest in Queensland history. So,
Which was up from the 40,000 that they had in 2024.
yeah. So basically what it means is that you have the right to use lethal force and grievous bodily harm to defend your property, but not only your property, but your tent, your caravan as
Your
well,
cave.
and your car.
Your cave.
Is there a cave in there as well?
Yeah.
Who owns a cave?
I read that in your notes.
Yeah, that was in your notes.
Did
I was
write
like, that's very specific.
Wow.
Maybe I wrote that wrong. I can't remember. It was late at night. So yeah, so it is.
Premises.
It is about what you can do to defend yourself at home, and I just thought we'd go through and have a discussion. But George, how impressive or how important is it to listen to, of the voice of the community when you got over 100,000 signatures on a petition?
Yeah, well, you certainly need to listen to it. I wonder if you could get it. I mean, it's like you could get that many for bringing back capital punishment. You get that many for making sure we never bring back capital punishment. It's obviously a lightning bolt issue. It would be interesting to talk to those 113,000 people about what they're actually thinking this would change and what current situation is, and the exact cases where they think the current situation hasn't covered off on what they want to happen. I mean, you already, as you know, have the right to self-defense. You already have the right to do what's reasonably necessary.
Yeah.
What do they think? The people have signed this, that the change will bring about that's needed. I mean, who has been prosecuted for defending themselves?
Yeah, it's
You know, what are they pointing to that's been the failing, and do people understand that what this could potentially mean in terms of just killings?
but not
what-
only
yeah.
how much it creates uncertainty and unsafety in the home. And I'm happy to because I would like
Yeah,
to
I mean,
speak
it's
about
like
it.
you look in the U.S. The amount of people that are shot by their family members who think that somebody's broken into the house in the U.S. It's pretty bad. When you've got people, you know, and you see it in the movies all the time, people shooting, you know, and it's a real thing that people do get shot and killed
I was
in their
looking
own
at notes
homes by
today.
family members
Yeah.
who think there's an intruder.
When I was looking today, like a guy got killed because he rocked up at the wrong address, their front yard, for a children's party. Got shot dead.
Do you really
Yeah.
think, though, that this, if it becomes legislation, would be at top of mind as a homeowner? Oh, I am now legally allowed to.
Well, let's look.
Because
At
I don't think
yeah.
it would.
But let's look at it because it's not just that as well. So if we look at so now under this legislation, the legislation as it stands is different, but this is the proposed. So now you can use lethal force or grievous bodily harm is authorised if the intruder enters at night, uses or threatens actual violence, is or pretends to be armed, is in the company with one or more other persons, damages or threatens to damage property. If the defender reasonably believes the intruder intends to commit an indictable offence, force is needed to prevent death, bodily harm to any person.
And so what's the difference then with the current legislation? You were saying proportionality.
So
Can you explain that to the viewers?
well, yeah. So firstly, those limbs don't exist. So the section as it stands now. It says there that it is lawful for a person who is in a peaceable possession of a dwelling, and any other person lawfully assisting him or her, or acting by his or her authority to use force to prevent or repel another person from unlawfully entering or remaining in the dwelling, if the person using the force believes on reasonable grounds the other person is attempting to enter or remain in the dwelling with intent to commit an indictable offence in the dwelling, and it is necessary to use that force. Now the case law then goes on, and the explanatory notes, and a lot of cases, the use of force is proportional. Mm-hmm. So to be clear, let's break this down in a really simple situation. Okay, if a 16-year-old boy walks into a house and tries to steal a TV, and there's two blokes in the actual kitchen, and they find him, and if they took him and killed him, they would go to jail, because that is not proportionate. They firstly, two men, unarmed child, the use of force is not reasonable. So there's no reason. It's not proportionate. It's not reasonable. So from that perspective, the case.
And that is what this law is trying to change.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at that graphic you put up before, where it says, you know, 1 to 5 and then 1 to 3, there's an or. So it's not that the intruder is in company with one or persons or damages property and the use of force is necessary to prevent death. It's or.
Yeah.
So
And
it's simply that they have entered and they're in one or company or they've damaged property, that opens the floodgate to kill them.
So essentially,
I understand what you're saying.
So
now.
in that scenario
Yeah.
now, in that scenario, a person under this law is authorised, not proportionately, is authorised to use lethal force if somebody walks in and commits an indictable offence.
Yeah.
So stealing.
And no attempt at retreat, no attempt at de-escalation.
Yep. Now, in the current situation, if you're at home and I walked into your house at night, you could use lethal force. It could be argued you could use lethal force because that's proportionate. Because if it's night time and I walk in and you feel that I'm going to do something to you, if I'm going to rape you, absolutely you could use reasonable force, because the difference between us proportionately. So it's referred to as parity disparity. So
Okay.
if there's a disparity between the two people, then the use of force can be greater. If there's no disparity, then it's different again. If it's a big person against a little person,
Or a 16-year-old and two grown
Yeah.
men. I understand what you're saying.
so the
Yeah.
system as it works, in my view, works, and I haven't seen many examples of this being played out where somebody has used force and then been charged with it.
So is that an urban myth?
Well, the calculation that I was looking at with roughly with the percentage of people who have some kind of interaction with an intruder is roughly 14% of all break-ins. And so I worked that out, kind of worked it out roughly, that I think it's around that 1%, if you're lucky, that would be in this scenario where they would be facing potential charges.
Yep. I want to show you a video that a Channel 7
Because that's
report
not all physical. Sorry, that's not all physical.
that sort of speaks on this as well.
When armed intruders smashed their way into Christie's home and put a knife to her throat,
I just was thinking, okay, you have to do whatever you have to do to stop them from getting to your kids.
forced to hand over the keys to her brand new car and with it a sense of safety.
I'm just quite jumpy at a lot of sounds and I haven't been able to sleep. I just do not feel safe at all.
That person might not have had a knife in their hands once she had one in their hands.
Katter's Australia Party is using the crime to reiterate its call for castle law, allowing residents to defend their homes, even with lethal force, without facing charges.
If you're forced to defend yourself and you use a weapon to do that, you would be protected by this law.
Despite calls for the government to include castle law in the next Making Queensland Safer laws, the LNP says it's not on the table.
Castle law is not our focus right now.
Our focus is on stopping people getting into homes in the first place.
Christie says she supports castle law in theory, but in practice,
It happens so fast and they're so, they work in groups and they target people who are vulnerable.
the robbers who targeted Christie are also believed to be hitting other Townsville homes, police declaring it their priority to track them down.
So this is born out of a town facing a lot of violence and crime.
Yeah.
So
And that violence and that crime is real.
yeah.
The solution to that
is what
As-
the Premier said.
Yeah.
I mean, they never
Yeah.
in that whole issue, and that is a major issue. They didn't say why the current law isn't sufficient.
Yeah.
A current law which wouldn't have the type of horrific side effects that you could possibly see with a 16-year-old boy and two grown men. I mean, she's they didn't explain how how Castle's law would actually improve what happened.
That situation.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that would have been an
Because she
awful...
would have a right to self-defense.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
But Nick,
Yeah.
Nick Demento there made a comment which, from my experience in talking to people, I used to talk to people about the right to safety in your community, how to live a safe life, and how to feel safe. So there was, I was a safety officer in the police when I used to go out and talk to community groups about it, and what he said would bring alarm bells to my views on those things, and particularly when he said, would they have had a knife if she had had a knife? And
They probably would have used the
I
knife
said-
that she
I said,
had on
I don't
her.
think they would have
So
used a knife
dangerous.
if she had had a knife. And what I would say to that is, in a situation where there is a female at home and 6 offenders come through the door, you have to make a decision on what's safe and right for you. Obviously, the first thing she would be trying to do is get distance from them, trying to get out of the house,
And the
trying
children.
to
Protect
yeah,
her
protect
kids,
the children. Compliance works in that situation. They've just come in for a car, let them take the car and go. Lifting a knife is insane. That is an insane thing to say or suggest, because if there are that many people and you've got a knife and that knife gets taken off you,
It's going to be used on
that,
you.
yeah. And I've been involved in fights involving knives. I've been cut by a knife by an offender trying to attack me. I can tell you that it's not easy to attack someone with a knife, and particularly if you've never held a knife. It's a very challenging thing. So even suggesting that that, I guess, is the biggest concern I have when we have discussions around this is the idea that the first option is that if someone comes in your house, you've got to kill them. It's not. It's you actually have to be talking about safety as a whole concept. How do you, like Sotera, you talk about how you keep your house safe, how you stop people from coming into your home.
Yep.
That's the first step, isn't it?
We have a big fence. We've got a German Shepherd. We lock up at night. We've got Crim Safe. I mean, we've invested in security in the house because we value that.
Yep.
Keeping them out is the first step.
Yeah. And even when I talk to my kids and I talk about safety plans, someone walks through the door that you don't recognise. If you're home alone, you call for somebody. Peter, quick, come downstairs. No Peter there, but they don't know that. And that fear brings fear into people. So the idea that you can then somehow respond to that act of aggression with another form of aggression and you'll be safe from that, that'll create more safety for you, I don't agree with. And I think what this suggests, first and foremost, is that that's your first option. And I always think that you should, in any situation of confrontation, you should always start here. And that's the last option. Always elevate up, never try and de-escalate because it doesn't work. What do you...
Given that this is a bill, what are the chances of it not passing
Well,
or
I mean,
being
the
reworked?
government in that segment, government gave its position that they're. I mean, I think that the government would be tempted, I think, to bring it in because it's clearly. I mean,
it fits with their.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits.
But I think they can see that very quickly. You could end up in some situations where unintended in terms of people being killed by mistake. In odd situations, which weren't intended. I mean, I remember picking up a pizza from Domino's Pizza once. My old car was a very standard white car. It looked like any rental car. I went to get into it, and I opened the door, and there was a lady sitting in it. And it was my car was the one behind hers. And she said,
It was an innocent
yeah,
thing.
and she recognized me. And then I saw her daughter the next week, and she said, "Oh, my mom said you tried to get in our car." I mean, that's there would eventually, it wouldn't happen immediately, but eventually you would have stuff by mistake, and the victims really could be a 10-year-old, your son. It could be a boy, sneaking home at night. I just think the government would be able to see that. The philosophy behind it of shoot first, ask questions later would potentially be bad. And on top of that, I mean, there may be circumstances where somebody has been prosecuted, for defending themselves in situations. But I'll be really interested in see the evidence, see a case which backs a case where somebody has actually been prosecuted in their own home or their own car against an intruder, and what that looked like. And then, that should be, if that is the issue, that should be forensically.
Proportional.
Yeah. Any case, I'll just be interested in any case, even if somebody shot dead an intruder and then got prosecuted. I'll be really interested to see, why and how. And I think, that would be better than, clearly this is a hot button political issue. Castle's law, your home is your castle, sign this petition. We're standing up for victims. But would it really?
You're potentially making more victims.
And exactly who would this help? You already do have the right to defend yourself and your property and your home and use what's reasonably required. Yeah.
Well, Nick, in his comments, this is what he has had to say. The law should not punish someone for defending their family from an intruder.
That's true.
People in regional Queensland are being left to fend for themselves.
That may be true.
Well, so what he's referring to there is that they can take up to an hour in regional Queensland for a police officer to respond to an event like this. My response to that would be that if someone broke in and committed an offence that required the use of lethal force, it would happen within a minute. Like it wouldn't happen in an hour, wouldn't happen in 10 minutes. Whether or not the police officer is down the road, I don't think the outcome would be different. So from that perspective, if lethal force is required, which in some cases it may be.
Like the video we watched this afternoon of the Filipino woman.
Yeah.
with hitting the intruder over the head, but the police weren't able to attend, so they just took matters into their own hands.
Yeah. Bit of a strange one, but still, but no, I mean, and there have been examples of people being killed on the Sunshine Coast where young people have come in and killed.
I know
North
someone who was
Queensland
killed
too.
by an intruder.
Oh,
Like you knew her
gosh.
too. Yeah. Yeah. Like I mean, I was, she was murdered in her own home by an intruder.
Someone I know was 7 months pregnant and got stabbed multiple times by an intruder in Sydney.
Yeah. So
Wow.
there's no dispute that there are circumstances that we need to protect people from, but I would like to see laws and processes. I'd like to see a policing style that protects people before they have the need to use lethal force. But if they were required to use lethal force, that would be measured based on the circumstances, not on a piece of legislation that says, well, they were. I'm covered because that person was committing I thought they were committing an indictable offence. I don't.
Yeah.
Even, I just all I have to do.
Or they
so-
damaged property.
Yeah. So I could come to your house. So you could
coming
come
up
to
your
my house
garden hose.
and I could not like you and I could shoot you and I could justify it by saying I thought you were trying to break in. Now I just have to prove that I thought it was, and then there's a reasonable man or reasonable person test. But clearly, it's not a good system to have such a defence under law that doesn't allow people to go, or the police or the investigator go, you know what? No, that doesn't meet the standard of what we require our citizens to do, which is not to take lives.
And what about intruders and people known to the person as well? Like, how does that change the situation? What's a technicality of an intruder?
Yeah, well, that's where I think it was there's another. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, so castle law creates serious risk in domestic violence situations when the intruder is a former partner returning to a family home. This law could provide legal cover for lethal violence. I think that's that's reasonable. You know, you don't want people to look at this and read it and go, okay, this is how this is a mechanism for me to be able to
Murder
Yeah,
someone.
murder
Yeah.
someone. And also on top of that, when you bring out laws like this, you create a perception in your community that you should be fearful.
Yeah.
And that's never a good place for a community to be. There are examples of offenders and violent offences that need to be addressed. But by and by, we should have the right to feel safe in our community as well. And I'm not sure that this really fixes anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I mean, I don't live in Townsville. There are communities where people reasonably don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And the response to that, like I don't think the legislation that they're talking about here
It's going to solve that problem.
is going to solve the problem at all.
Is more resourcing for the police something that would provide one solution?
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole scope of things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's what you did as a community 20 years ago in your school system, in your community systems, in your support.
Yeah.
Neighbourhood watch.
Yeah. It's how much money you invested in those things, as
Yeah.
well as, your proactive policing, your reactive policing, your processes. I mean, it's one thing to have a lot of police, but if you have good community structures in
Engagement.
place, then in years to come, you'll see these crimes addressed. And I'm not sure that's, I'm not
And
sure.
can it then be used as an excuse to not do more about the gaps in the way that things are being policed, or how they're being funded, or what programs they've got?
Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on this, George, all in all?
I don't think it'll pass. I think it'll remain a political issue that Qatar can use. It's a very good issue for them. But I as I said before, I would really, my view might change if I saw a case where somebody actually was prosecuted and found guilty whilst defending their home in a manner that was reasonable and appropriate. And if you change the law, I think this law, the way this is worded to be, the intruder, damaged or threatens to damage any property.
And does that include your front yard? Like, what if some kid comes in and chops the end off your hose because, can you just go and bang him over the head with a baseball bat?
Yeah, it is. It's not what we're trying to teach our children.
No.
That's, like people need to feel safe in their home, and I think they deserve responses from government that isn't about playing on those fears and giving them an answer which I don't think people really want. Like I said, people, if
when
they're
you look
home,
at it from a black and white.
if their home is being invaded, they do have a right to defend themselves, and that does include lethal force if that's necessary.
Yeah.
If they're the protections are there already. This is about basically getting rid of any reasonableness of those protections.
And police can't look at how much scrutiny a police officer comes under if they shoot and kill.
Death in custody.
They go through the whole rigmarole of investigations and reports and those kind of things. But then a member of the community who isn't trained like a police officer isn't necessarily impartial. And they're acting on perceived risk, which could include things that have racist overtones, could all sorts of, I guess, different discriminations could come into play there for a perceived risk, whether that's conscious or subconscious. So the police have to answer to all this scrutiny, and they're actually well trained and that kind of thing, but then a general member of the public can shoot someone in their front yard.
Yeah, and I just think the fact that it literally says, that it effectively, I mean, I'm rewording it a little bit, you can use lethal force or grievous bodily harm if the intruder threatens to damage property. Like, so somebody I'm
going to come and steal your garden gnome.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be in your home, in your occupied place, but
I'm going to kick your door down.
Yeah.
Bang.
So is it a yard or is it a home?
Well, the
Because
occupier
if
of
a
a dwelling
tent-
or other premises
And a cave?
Yeah.
Or is that a type of
not the
caravan?
front, not the front yard of a cave, just yeah.
I mean, that is extraordinarily wording to think that you put that in legislation, that if somebody's threatening to damage property.
It looks like legislation that someone's put up that they don't even want to be successful themselves, but they want to use it as a leverage.
Or shift policy indirectly.
Yeah. Move it further in that direction.
Yeah.
The next topic we're going to talk about is that on the 1st of April 2026, the Queensland Government made 91 appointments across 16 hospital and health boards. One of those was the new Wide Bay board. Sotera, did you want to go through those and maybe we can talk about some of the people we all know or who we don't know?
Yep. So the new chair is Professor Brett Hayward. Some incumbent sitting members are Emeritus, I never get that word right, Professor Helen Huntley, Deputy Chair, Leanne Rudd, Stephen Ober and Kirsty Key. And the 4 new appointees are Dr. Fiona Baker, Jade Wellings, Peter Hoare and Tanya Stevenson.
So we all know Jade, don't we?
Yep.
Yep. Former councillor. Yep.
Yeah. And then Tanya Stevens, part of the community
CEO of Harvey Bay Neighbourhood Centre. Yep.
And Peter Hoare.
I
don't know him. Dr. Fiona Baker, I've worked with her. She's a clinician, a consultant at the HHS. She's works in the specialty of geriatrics.
Yep. One of the things that is different this time around, and it's a promise that the Liberal National Party made coming into the last election, was that there will be at least one clinician on each board. And is that Dr. Fiona Baker? That's the
yeah. And look, while she has a specialty in geriatrics, she also, has worked in the emergency department. She's a skilled clinician. She understands the front line. Yeah.
So, what's your thoughts on a clinician being brought in to a board position?
Good.
Excellent. Great idea. Yeah.
Why one? Like, why not?
I guess it's at least one. I'm sure it's not limited to one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't answer that. Why one? Why not an entire board?
Well, I can understand why.
Yeah, you'd want a skills matrix. You'd want somebody with
right.
like HR background, somebody with community health background, somebody with Indigenous health background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you think you would at least want a bigger representation than one voice on your board that has a focus
Hands-on
or experience within the actual industry or the area that they're serving.
Possibly, but I don't think it's necessarily a requirement. A clinician is a clinician working at the front line. Their whole focus is patient care. So whether it's a nurse or an allied health professional or a doctor or another specialty area, I think they are all...
So you think a doctor, nurse and an allied health person would all be able to contribute similar...
Yeah,
things,
their
or?
focus is all on patient care. I would say that across all of those disciplines, they would understand the issues in a health service, whether it's patient flow or, a changing level of health in the people that they're seeing, whether it's management. They're all seeing the same things. Their disciplines will dictate the type of care and the decision-making in a medical setting. But I think you'll find that they're all... they would all understand and get, where the issues and opportunities are in the health service, regardless of the discipline.
Although I do feel from the people that I know that are doctors and nurses that there is a little bit of a divide, I think, in potentially how things are perceived on the front line between a doctor and a nurse, just say. So I don't know how beneficial it would be having, particularly given what we're about to talk about in regards to like employment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only say from my experience when I worked at the HHS, the emergency department, they are one team. They all have each other's backs. And while they know that there's a difference in disciplines and the clinical decision making that's available at, in that environment, they I didn't get the sense of that, no. And I think maybe that could be a narrative, an old story that just continues to come through. And maybe in other facilities, but it wasn't evident to me at Harbour Bay.
But it's the CEO and the executives that run a hospital, isn't it? It's not the board.
Correct.
Yeah.
So these are the team that lead the strategic direction and
would set the budget.
Yeah. But ultimately it's the CEO and the board. Going back to the clinician or the representative from the industry, if it is a representative from the industry, how does it work then for selection? Is it selected by a process of representation selected by the body that, like, is it the clinicians themselves that put somebody up, or is it...
No, they couldn't do it like that. It would always have to be a ministerial cabinet. I mean, in the end, it's the governor, I guess.
Yeah.
But the minister would be a ministerial appointment, and you couldn't really do it. You couldn't have staff voting a member onto the board. They would just be too conflicted.
Yeah. Do people apply, though, don't they? And then the minister would make the decision.
I mean, yeah. I've seen it advertised in the past. Yeah, the minister would make the decision.
Yeah.
But it does tend to be the fact that if you're a Liberal national government, you'll have probably more conservative people take on those roles. Is that?
I imagine.
Would it be the same for a Labor Party member?
It's not quite the kind of board that's implementing. Because, I mean, this is one of the more difficult boards to be on. This is the one where there's severe liability. There's a potential for reputational risk if something goes wrong. I mean, I think they dismissed the one around Rockhampton, maybe not. There was a show cause. So it's not the kind of one where people would, it's not like, the wine industry advisory committee or, it's
good.
Yeah, this is not one of the easy boards to be on. So it's not one that you would normally see stacked with political appointees because it's just not it's not a cruisy.
It's not fun.
Board in the sense
You say that because it does take on a number of hospitals: Harvey Bay, Maryborough, Bundaberg, Kingaroy.
Kingaroy's not in. That's in Darling Downs Southwest.
Is it?
Yep.
So did I get that wrong?
Yeah, but Harvey Bay, Maryborough and Bundaberg are definitely.
Mundubbera.
Biggendon, Gingin, Gayndah, Childers, Eidsvold, Monto, Mount Perry, Mundubbera. That's where the health centres are, the satellite.
So North Burnett, Bundaberg, Harvey Bay, Race Coast. Yeah.
But you'd think Kingaroy was in the region, but the way that the HHSs are divvied up do not align with any other regional plan or Australian government reporting district. It's just weird.
So we sort of alluded to it before. There are some this board has got some issues. There is some significant cultural issues, particularly at Harvey Bay and Bundaberg hospitals, if you believe the reports that have been, I think there's a 2024, but also the 2025 report is not much better, but I was able to get some data on the 2024 satisfaction survey. So there was the Working for Queensland 2024 staff survey for the Wide Bay Health Services or Hospital and Health Services. There was the responses and the feedback from the survey wasn't great.
No.
If we look at I just want to bring up the top reason staff want to leave is here. Emotional exhaustion, 23%. Overloaded with work, 22%. Immediate supervisors, leadership, poor quality, 22%.
I mean, when you walk into pretty much any facility of theirs, you'll see a sign saying, bullying is not accepted. A lot of them are at the front line of pretty hostile behaviour.
But you've got there nearly 42% relating to a supervisor's poor quality and leadership.
Do you think you can add them together? Might be the same.
Well,
I guess if only people give one reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, does that add to 100? Does it?
No,
I thought people could give a couple reasons or 4 reasons to leave. Yeah. I mean, and you see the other statistics. 30% people experiencing workplace bullying.
Yeah, let's go through some of those.
great.
What sort of we've got some information here. What sort of spoke out to you, Carly, in that survey?
Well, I've actually previously discussed the survey with someone who may or may not have been a respondent. I'm not quite sure, but they certainly work at the hospital, and that isn't or hasn't been their personal experience. They've enjoyed working there. However, they were very aware that their experience was very different to a lot of other people's experiences there. So I would say, well, feel like emotional exhaustion would potentially be improved by not being overloaded with work and not being bullied. So, I feel that some are symptoms of others in there.
Mm-hmm. So, Terry, you've got some experience in this space, and you probably have to be careful about how you say this. But does this survey surprise you?
No, I think it was when I was there, very similar figures. I don't think that the dials have changed.
Yeah.
And was that your observation when you spoke to other people that they could feel that way, not necessarily you?
Yes. And across all of these points that we've got in front of us, my colleagues would speak to those, whether it be bullying or workload or fatigue or, doing more with less, which was very much a line given that was pushed through the HHS under the previous government. That puts a lot of pressure, and then coupled with populations that are increasing, and you get more people coming in, more people. It's like how do I say it? All the things that needed to go into the mix to result in a low staff satisfaction level overall, or very average. I think the ingredients are all there, so it doesn't surprise me that not much has changed.
Yeah. I think one thing you got to look at in the survey is 37% response rate. That's pretty
that's
low.
the other thing.
That's
yeah.
low.
For a voluntary.
Oh well.
Does that show disengagement, staff disengagement, or apathy? What?
I would have thought if they were angry, they'd be more likely to respond.
I guess that was my initial thing. So maybe it is, but also if you're really happy, perhaps you don't. I was thinking that when I saw 37% response rate, well, maybe you are capturing the disaffiliated, the disappointed, and so when you get 47% of the people who responded agreeing with the statement that senior leaders demonstrate honesty and integrity, that's not a very good response. That is amongst the 37% who responded.
Yeah.
I wonder how it fares these results against other HHSs.
It's interesting. I spoke to a number of people in this system, and nearly all of them, that was their lived experience.
Yeah.
And nearly every one of them did not complete the survey.
Really? Yeah.
Because they believed that
It's
they
not truly
believe that
anonymous.
that they are so fearful of the management structure that they would never have completed the survey.
Yeah,
as
HR
well.
will contact them the next day.
Yeah, they'll know who they are.
Yeah,
And
interesting, yeah.
So I can understand
So
what you're saying, but
I
you know,
thought these were confidential. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm always glass
Yeah.
half full.
yeah.
The other thing is, like, the colleagues that I would speak
I thought
to.
the world was round, but apparently it's not.
That's a
Sotera
global
yeah.
movement, the Flat Earth Group. And there's also, you know, some of my colleagues were like, why would I even bother? There's
Yeah.
no point. And I think they are the group that really needed to speak up and be
The
heard
more
in
at
this.
most, yeah.
Yeah, because I've been looking into this a little bit because Hedley Thomas just recently did the podcast relating to Jayant Patel
Yeah,
in Bundaberg.
Bundaberg.
Very interesting podcast. Incredible how dysfunctional that hospital, the leadership was there, and how systemic it was. And you hear people talking about it now, and you wonder whether it's got better or worse. You know, I'm not confident it's got better, and I think, mate, you're right. I don't know if I'd want to be on this board if this is the sort of battle you'd have to fight. It does look like there's some real issues here.
But until they improve, until they
Yeah.
do something about improving these, they're going to have continuing retention rate issues, which is the same as teaching, police work, all of those kind of industries. Unless they do something about the conditions, the retention rate's going to remain in a sliding. It's going to be sliding, and then the problems are just going to compound. They're
Will
not going
the
to get
board
better.
be able to influence those operational matters and issues and culture?
I don't know.
If they're
I'm
It'd
not
be
experienced
difficult.
enough.
I mean, it is a very large organization, a budget of $1 billion, you know, 2/3 of that's wages. It's a lot of staff in difficult situations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
What's slightly off topic, but on topic, but slightly off, and this is just my ignorance showing here, but I often wonder about, like, for example, a doctor who might pull 3 back-to-back shifts because there's no one to relieve him or her or those kind of things. If we did that in the private sector, we'd be in all sorts of trouble. So I don't understand how the government sector, their staff can be treated in those ways compared to the private sector.
Well, I think this inquiry that was done with Jayant Patel picked up that very issue, said that can't happen. And you would hope that it would not be happening to the level it is because, you know, tired people make mistakes.
Yeah.
And they're very unforgiving.
They say a tired driver is the same as a drunk driver.
Yeah.
So then you've got a surgeon working on someone who's drunk. I don't know.
Yeah.
That just popped into my head.
If I was running this organisation and I had a satisfaction survey like that, I would be mortified. I don't think, and I would try to work out why the biggest issues across, and if you read the report in its entirety or you look at some of the detail, every level is trying to discipline the level below, not empower them.
Yeah.
And that's a real problem. If your managers are trying to find fault, and it was very much in policing after Fitzgerald, is to get promoted, you just get someone below you in trouble. You know, you'd discipline them.
Which is sort of like kids bullies. Like the bully puts down the more vulnerable kid to put themselves up, to elevate themselves.
So there's got to be a level of empowerment in that leadership group, and it starts from your CEO, your executive, and then flows down into all your staff. And if every, and I don't know who the CEO is, and this isn't me.
It's Debbie.
Deb Carroll.
Oh, yep. Then I do. I guess the concern is that if every level of your leadership group or structure is getting that level of survey result, then it's a problem that is going through the entire organisation.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
Massive, yeah. And like you said, it's a big organisation. There's a lot of work to be done that's going to be slow in shifting some of these figures.
Yeah, I mean, there are stuff that would be alarmed about. I mean, on the surveys, half of them say organisation values my well-being, but I mean, they're doing a great job. I mean, right across the region, we have this great group of health professionals and nurses and in community health. The amount of investment that's gone into mental health has been phenomenal in this region. It's just a very difficult space that they're working
the mental
in.
health staff are at breaking point.
They've got their own mental health issues from working in mental health.
So the question isn't, are they great at what they do? That's not discounted. Even under the trying conditions, the question is, do they feel as though they're worthwhile, they're valued, that when they come to work, they're contributing? If you feel like you're part of a team, you're working towards a vision, you do work harder, strive for more. And if you just feel battered every day because you feel like you're being...
From all sides battered too, from the patients, from the other staff.
I think it's probably the biggest issue that we've probably talked about on this podcast, in my view, for our region. I think it'll have, in the next couple of years, it'll have the biggest impact on our community, bar nothing that we've talked about. How's that? And that's even more than bike registration, which I predicted as well, George, if you remember.
Push bike.
What do you think? Do you think it's an issue?
It certainly is. Healthcare is the largest employer in our region, health and community care. It's just a frontline issue. I mean, there is a lot of aggression from patients that they're seeing, unrealistic demands. Working, these are people working within a system with finite resources. They're, often they're not given a lot of empowerment. You can understand why they would get down.
Yep. Well, I'm pretty keen to look at this again, so I'm going to. I've sort of done a bit more research, and I'm probably going to look at this. Will probably I'm going to break away and do a little bit of a series on this as well. So if anyone would like to come on the journey, and we'll try and reach out to some people and actually have a look at it in a more deep and meaningful way. That's something I'm
going by those survey results. You might need anonymous sources.
Yeah, seems so. Well,
I mean, it'll be interesting to compare it to other healthcare workers, like at St. Stephen's. Do you think St. Stephen's workers have the same issue, or Blue Care nurses?
No, I don't think so, because when you speak to
maybe the same, but just not as high.
Well, they had St. Stephen's, for example, had a really good leader. He's gone now. He's now somewhere else. That when he was there, when you speak to a lot of the staff,
he came from the public health system.
And elevated that hospital. He was such a good fixer. He was so good at his job. He was really effective at making institutional change and lifting up the morale of the people, because because every person you spoke to, they would refer to when he came. And then when he left, it was like, oh, what's going to happen now?
And he's ex-military and he cares about people. He looks at, I'm going to use this terminology very loosely, they were his troops. Everybody's working towards one goal.
Yeah.
And that empowerment that keeps coming up in this discussion, I think he was probably had a risk profile such that he would empower people to get on and do the job.
Yeah, very effective. So anecdotally, you would say absolutely St. Stephen's had the culture seemed to be progressing in the right direction. I'm not sure, because I did find some stats in relation to 2025, and it doesn't look much better either.
And I think, I can't remember if it's Gladstone or Rockhampton, but or maybe it's both of them, but they've got pretty low numbers like this as well. So is it the type of regional centre we are? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot going on. Lots for regional hospitals, I think,
Did we used to be classed rural at some stage and then got moved into regional?
I don't think so. In the funding models, they look at the regions. There's a particular model that they use for funding and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, again, years and years of being asked to do with more with less.
Yeah.
Because they're not a business, and being asked to find a dividend is a ridiculous concept, and they've had to do that. They've tried to look at efficiencies wherever they can, and I think that that is not great for staff when they're already pushed.
I was in a not Harvey Bay. I was in a hospital once, and the drips kept on having problems all the time. And the nurse ended up telling me that they'd bought all of these drips secondhand. I don't know how or where, but they'd bought all 1,000 drips secondhand, but they weren't compatible with all of the equipment like the little pipey equipment or whatever they already had. So they were just constantly having to visit people and re-put these drips in or whatever. And you think like the efficiencies of that kind of thing, like if that's happening across all hospitals in different kind of ways, then you can see how staff would get the shits with it.
Yeah, and that's like, you look at it as a big machine, it is massive. It's everything from purchasing to making sure everything's maintained, the equipment's
washing,
working well.
linen.
Yep. The food, everyone plays their part in making sure it runs
Everything
efficiently. And something as small as, a consumable like that just throws the whole thing out. It's difficult. I actually think this is a step in the right direction, and I applaud the government for looking at putting clinicians on a board. I think that can't be a bad thing. It's only going to make it better, because it's that insight that you've just spoken about. They can speak to that, and and they can advocate for funding and really speak to the Australian government, for example, when they look at their models of funding, and just say, look, this is...
Do you think it should be a clinician within the actual health service?
Yeah, I do. I think so. And Fiona does work at the HHS, so she has first-hand knowledge. She's got her peers around her. She's very well respected. She understands what's happening, and I will be able to articulate it in such a way that it will put the health service in a better position in terms of advocacy.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to looking at that further. I think we might finish up there, and we are having some technical difficulties. We've moved over to Facebook, and the connection. We went from YouTube Live to Facebook Live, and the connectivity seems to be a bit off. I thought I'd fixed it today, but there's still some issues, so apologies if people are listening live. Hopefully it'll fix up once it's processed. If not, we've got it recording here, hard drive, and I'll upload that tonight as well. What you up to this week, George?
What am I up to this week? I don't know. I've been pretty busy though. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This week I was out in Maryborough today.
Small business launch.
Today. Yeah. You were meant to be there, Sotera. We're doing for Small Business Month in May. We're doing a number of events, including work by the water. So we're having this open space where, for a few days in Harvey Bay and a few days by the river in Maryborough, we're inviting, consultants, people who work from home, people with different businesses come down and collaborate. There'll be mentoring sessions, professional development. So it's all about trying to foster like an ecosystem or a culture of, businesses, local, working together and sharing ideas and helping solve problems.
Yeah. Water cooler conversations by the water.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Sarah?
Oh, I don't have any plans, actually. I live a pretty boring life. Satisfying but boring.
Yep.
Well, I wouldn't say mine are exciting, but we're back to landscaping. So we had our fun last weekend, so back to it.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the weekend, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you.